This is about systematic racism, because we need to acknowledge that over the years, white people have developed an attitude of superiority over blacks, because over the years, there's been that employer-employee, master, servant, ruler, and the ruled, and the white people have always set the tone and the volume and took the decision on a number of things over the years. So there's that white supremacy that is there, which we have not really dealt with, and that is in the center of the problem that we have in Hartbeespoort.
Even after 3 decades of democracy, the fight for economic freedom remains elusive for many South Africans. The persistent shadow of apartheid lingers, haunting communities across the nation. Nowhere is there more evidence than in Hartbeespoort. Once a bastion of white exclusivity, this area has officially opened its gates to all, at least in theory. In reality, the remnants of segregation are etched into the very fabric of daily life, where inequality continues to thrive despite the promises of change.
Aside to it, black business people say they're still subjected to racial intolerance centered around attempts to retain white privilege. They saw one restaurant owned by a black businessman torched, allegedly by white Africans residents recently.
Out of the area so that the area remains predominantly white. They're trying to deny us access to the dam economy so that the economy only remains only white, which is quite unfortunate because the dam is 100% government funded and government resourced.
Ngoato says the Water and Sanitation Department, which owns the land, hasn't been of any help to them. He has accused the department of giving the white community an upper hand.
The department is equally useless, and I'll say that it's equally useless because they are part and parcel of the system. The department is fully aware that white people have been occupying government land for decades and decades for paying no money, for following no process, illegally occupying it, and they've been saying nothing about it. When black people are applying to occupy government land, just in the same way as their white counterparts following due process, they subject us to market rates and property valuation, whilst with white people they don't do that.
Meanwhile, some white business owners have condemned the alleged racial acts.
A lot of people in Hartbeespoort Dam do not want to share it with anybody else. We have experienced it ourselves, where people are upset about the kind of people we bring here.
The democracy of this country is on the books only, but practically it's not seen.
But the struggles of a black child still continues. A luta continua. A luta continua.
The struggle continues.
A luta continua. A luta continua. Contra o quê?
Against what? Against what must the struggle continue?
Contra o tribalismo.
Against tribalism.
A luta continua.
And what else must we struggle against?
Contra a ignorância.
Against ignorance.
Contra o analfabetismo.
Against illiteracy.
Contra a exploração do homem pelo homem.
Against exploitation.
Contra...
To know more about this story, stay tuned. Welcome back to the Fraud News channel. I'm your host, Boss Robert. To those who have already subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. To those who haven't, please show your brother some love. Back to the story. Racial tensions in Hartbeespoort Dam are reaching a boiling point as black residents and business owners face escalating discrimination and threats from their white neighbors. One may ask, why are the white people defending jealously the land in Hartbeespoort? It is reported that Hartbeespoort rakes billions of rands annually in revenue due to tourism related to swimming, fishing, boating, and sight touring, as the area has mountains and rich South African history. Also, Hartbeespoort is closer to OR Tambo and Lenzeria airports, making it convenient for tourists to reach the area. In addition, Hartbeespoort, it is also known for crop farming and property development, which are reported to contribute millions of rands in revenue per annum to the province. These are some of the reasons why the white people in Hartbeespoort do not want to surrender land and share opportunities with black people. In a recent flashpoint, a white man named Graham Van Der Sandt was allegedly convicted after pointing a gun at his black neighbor, Hartley Ngoato, in a bitter land feud. But even after his conviction, Van Der Sandt touted Ngoato with a chilling message. "Congratulations, you won. You played a superior game." Seemingly suggesting that this was just the beginning. And like the Terminator, Van Der Sandt will be back.
I'll be back.
As Hartbeespoort teeters on the edge, the tension is palpable, and the fight for equality has never been more urgent. Ngoato, in another incident in 2008, was allegedly called the K-word, was being beaten to death by a white man when he was trying to board into a boat cruise at Hartbeespoort Dam. This story was covered by the Sunday Times in an article entitled 2 Years in Jail for Men Who Assaulted and Insulted Lawyer in Hart's Racial Attack. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Black entrepreneurs are being systematically shut out of economic opportunities, with the white resident accused of holding land and business rights, some through illegal occupation of government property. As anger simmers, the Northwest government expressed concern, vowing to investigate and ramp up security. Northwest MEC Bitsa Lenkopane has launched an urgent investigation into a series of racially charged arson attacks in Hartbeespoort, where 2 black-owned properties were deliberately set ablaze, igniting a community already simmering in racial tensions. Allegations swell that African-speaking residents are orchestrating a campaign to drive black business owners out of the predominantly white enclave. The latest victim, businessman Thabiso Matibedi, watched his resort burn to the ground, a symbol of the deepening racial divide. Lenkopane vowed swift justice, promising that those responsible will be brought to account. "We cannot allow these crimes to go unpunished," she declared, while reaffirming her commitment to the area's transformation, including the return of 400 hectares of land to black communities and a 70 million development fund. Yet, the battle for justice rages on. Listen to the following clips to gain more context on this matter.
Mr. Mutsuhai, please, tell us what is happening here.
Okay, thanks. Firstly, if you run your camera until to the end, you can see that it's I think it's 9 hectares of state land. This was allocated after application to the Department of Water and Sanitation. It was allocated to us. I'm sharing the 4.5. My portion is 4.5 hectares, and the NG Maseko takes 4.5 portion. We were given PTOs for that. And then we were also told that we can start working while the lease is on its way. Actually, in our discussion with the officials from the Department of Water and Sanitation, the lease was going to be with us within a month or so of us working here.
And when was this?
2 years ago. 2 years ago. So then while we were working, because we were clearing the hedges and stuff, and then a gentleman by the name of Jack Seal firstly came in here, harassed my employees. Then when I came here, and I was followed by his car, and he accosted me while I was trying to ignore him, and he told me that this is his land. And I ignored him, but he followed me. He was very insistent. So to avoid confrontation, I left. And then subsequently, I contacted the Department of Water and Sanitation as the custodian of this land, or as the owner of this land, and with the hope that they will help me to intervene between me and Mr. Seal. But no, nothing happened. During our discussion with him, firstly, he said no way that we would get the PTOs. He told us that our PTOs are null and void. But then later, when I had a discussion with him, trying to confirm the discussion that I had while he was here. We were talking on WhatsApp. He denied that he said it was his land. He said the government, the environmental department of Northwest, I think, had given him a sort of a guardianship for him to look after this.
The Water and Sanitation Ministry says the dam must benefit all.
The Hartbeespoort dam is a national asset. It's in the northwest. It's in Hartley, and therefore we must reflect that in terms of benefits, in terms of access by all these people, and it must impact everybody.
Minister of Water and Sanitation, that is Senzo Mchuno, who is now the Minister of Police. We have a letter here which he wrote to the paramount white chief of Hartbeespoort, Jack Seal, telling him straightforward that the land that you are occupying, we are terminating that lease agreement with immediate effect. That was back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. The minister wrote a letter to him saying, we are terminating the lease that you had entered with the Department of Roads and Public Works in Northwest. Because the Minister of Water and Sanitation, in terms of our powers, the powers and function vested on him by the Constitution, he is the custodian of any state land around the dam. So he has given out that letter to this man that vacated this place with immediate effect. That was in 2022. The man never moved, even an inch. He's operating his business as normal.
So it's essentially what I'm looking for, though, is just exactly what has happened. So black businesses, this is what I'm looking for. Are black businesses being tortured? Is it because they're black? Let's start there.
Yes, well, look, on average, you have a situation where the typical population of white people in Hartbeespoort, it's old people. And Hartbeespoort has been sort of a typical pocket of excellence for racism. So over the years, white people have actually established Hartbeespoort as their center of racism. So they are in charge of everything that happens there. But as you would know, that over the past 30 years, black people were allowed to move around the country because the problem is historic. Now, as black people come in there to start businesses, that's where the problem happens. And the main cause of the problem is that the land surrounding the dam is owned by the government. Nobody owns the land. It belongs to government. Government is supposed to give leases to everybody. But now, the white people who are there, historically, they receive the lease first, which on average will be a 99-year lease, 800 rand per annum, and that's where it is. And some of those leases have lapsed, if not cancelled. So that's where us as black people, we came in with an intention of coming in to be accommodated. And that's where the problem is. Because over the years, there is that sense of entitlement to the land. And the people are just not willing to share. And it's so unfortunate that some of the officials in the Department of Water and Sanitation, they happen to be white. And over the years, they've managed this kind of gangster network where they're able to sustain the stay by many white businesses and making it difficult for black people.
Good evening. Look, the challenges are quite very specific, right? As a black business, you are denied the right to participate or to even operate. They subject you to horrendous regulations that they themselves as white do not comply with. I'll give a typical example. Now, when you are operating on a government land as a tenant, you're not allowed to build permanent structures. They have built permanent structures on a government land, which they're not supposed to do so. They have built harbors on the shoreline of the dam, which they're not supposed to do so. They have to apply for permission to be able to do that. They have built golf courses, and when you come as an unsuspecting client to buy a house in Hartbeespoort, you get told you are buying in a golf estate and automatically doubles the value of your house. But they don't tell you that the land where they built a golf course is stolen land. They've illegally occupied that land. They've not paid 1 cent for it. But when black business comes in, following due process, that we have to follow due process and comply with all those things, we are subjected to most rigorous regulation that they have themselves have not complied with.
Which golf course are we talking about?
Caribbean Beach, for an example. Caribbean Beach Golf Estate has built a 9-hole golf course on a government land, and have done so for the last 45 years, and they've not paid 1 cent.
Which is that, as a country, plus 30 years ago, it was legal, separate development. White people were supposed to do their own things. Black people were not allowed to do anything. That thing was legal. Now, there are people who never moved an inch from that separate development model. They still look at Hartbeespoort as part of Transvaal, Free State as Orange Free State, your Natal, and all those kind of things that are old-fashioned. And like I said before, these are old people. Some of them, unfortunately, their communities allow them to be racist in their small communities. And when we come out and speak, because remember, black people will never be racist in any way. Will never be violent in a case like these ones. But the unfortunate part is that when we come out like this, sometimes we appear as if we want to do reverse racism, which is not true, because you can go anywhere in the world. There is nowhere where black people have organized something against white people and succeeded.
But where's the proof that, and perhaps this is a question I can give to you, where's the proof that this is about race? Right? And this isn't just about leases and contracts. Where's the proof that this is particularly black businesses, black individuals, black institutions that are being targeted? Where we've seen, for instance, a Matibedi whose business, I believe, went up in flames in Hartbeespoort. Where's the proof that this is about race?
It is, and I'll give you the proof. There is an article that was written by Jack Seal in 2009, when the government introduced the project called Metsi Army. He went on an Afrikaner newspaper to say this Metsi Army program is a black land grab against the Boere land in Hartbeespoort. 1. Number 2, they have formed themselves into WhatsApp groups where they discuss how to oppose black land occupation, and it is in writing.
Called Sunday. The incident that has happened in Hartbeespoort, it must not be characterized in many ways. What has happened is criminality. When individuals, they choose to burn down people's assets in terms of arson, it's a criminal activity that must be dealt with decisively by law enforcement agencies. When it comes to the dams, Thabo, we need to indicate that most of the dams in South Africa that were built during the course of apartheid, including Hartbeespoort Dam that is more than 100 years old, those are the dams that belong to the state. And in the main, due to apartheid policies of the time, those dams were either the use of those facilities around to the dams, they were preferred on an issues of racial basis. But at the very same time, these dams were also used for single-purpose dams, where many other uses like domestic use and others were not supported by these dams and communities closer to the dams. The incident that has happened is actually very unfortunate. We have interacted with a number of stakeholders. We took a decision with the then minister that these dams cannot remain an island within communities where people are. Therefore, communities that were displaced when these dams were formed, whether in Harties, whether in Nandoni, whether in KwaZulu-Natal, these are the people that this government must give them the access and economic opportunities, whether for recreation, whether for tourism, whether even for agriculture and other aspects that are there, because to have a dam next to you, it is an economic opportunity. Right. But some of these particular infrastructure, when we inherited them, we found that there were 99-year leases that were given to certain white privileged individuals on the basis of an apartheid system. A decision was made that, 1, we are cancelling all the 99-year leases that are given to these people. And then we actually instituted a new lease agreement. There is a policy in line that the areas around our dams and access to the dams, they can be open under the guidance of the minister, promote issues of equity and transformation. Therefore, these are the main issues that we are dealing with in terms of trying to get our black people to have socio-economic activities including issues of culture and heritage
Yes.
around those facilities.
Are you aware of the withdrawal of a permission to occupy issued to one of the tenants there in 2022?
I'm quite aware. There have been a number of organizations there. There are issues of racial tensions that we shouldn't deny, where some of the people that have been around in that facility for quite some time, some of them, they are very intolerant. For an example, they quibble on a small matter, like an issue complaining that someone is selling liquor there. The noise levels are very high. They've been complaining to us as a department around those particular issues. Some of them, they've been fighting our decisions to terminate the 99-year leases. They took us to court, they lost in court. Currently, the matter is in the Supreme Court. Yeah. In the meantime, because of the delays in the processing of the lease agreements that are actually opening up the space now, we only gave them permission to occupy for a period of not more than 2 years. And our instructions are very clear. We don't want anybody around the dams to build a permanent structure, because that infrastructure and the asset, it belongs to the people. And the minister is the custodian on behalf of...
Mr. Mzuli runs an NPO that has been allocated a property here. That's where actually they were supposed to be running their operations. They have permission to occupy from the department, but for some reason, they do not have access to the property. But Mzuli will take us through their challenges with this whole matter. Mzuli, what is happening? Why can't you reach your property?
We cannot reach the property, as I explained earlier, in that the old servitude that used to be the only access area to those white buildings belongs to the man called Jack Seal. He has refused that we traverse over his portion to access those white structures that you see behind me. So as a result, we then spoke to the department to say, can you not allocate us this strip? Because then through the strip we can drive down, which is about 100 meters from the gate, and then we create a bridge. We turn here because this is also state land. But unfortunately, what has now played out is that the department has played us against each other. The former worker of Jack Seal has now been allocated the strip. Now, it means that effectively, although we have been given permission to occupy, we cannot take occupation of the white buildings where we were hoping to use the white buildings as the offices for the NPO. Our portion starts by that yellow gate.
Yeah.
But this is a servitude. This is a servitude. Ne?
Yeah.
This road is a servitude.
Yes. It's an access road to the land that we have been allocated.
To the land that we've been allocated.
Yes.
But he put a gate such that we cannot access. Then what we did was, because the land next door belongs to the state, we then said to the department, rather than us fighting this man over his land to traverse and access our portion, you would rather allocate us this small strip here, which is about half a hectare, which they did allocate us. So we've got a written permission to occupy for the bigger portion. Then they gave us a second permission to occupy for this small portion. The worker of Jack Seal, who is the man that we are seeing there building a shack, because of our vocality as an NPO, we believe that we're being victimized. They then decided to allocate another black person permission to occupy our portion. So now we're effectively, we're now being blocked out. It means that we cannot access our portion through this land because Jack Seal has blocked us. But now they've allocated somebody here. We cannot access the bigger portion using this smaller portion because somebody else has been allocated a portion by the department.
What Mzuli is saying speaks to the fact that there is an element of promoting black-on-black violence by the department.
Yep.
Because the implication of it now is that if Mdluli wants to go in here, he needs to face off with this black man. And that is exactly the same situation that I had with my neighbor there. It's another black man who was allocated. Now they gave him a small piece. And for him to make his space bigger, he had to squeeze me.
Hey. Babang bani kam?
Umthula zanganche.
Sibuza wena pe.
Ya noma ngiyabona ukuthi
Hey. Hey.
Ngoba umthula uyitsheli.
So
igama ulaki.
Ulaki wakabani?
Wakajob.
Wakajob.
Yeah.
Siyathokoza. Hey, manje besifuna ukubuza ngemvumo yalaba phela.
Yeah, no.
Did you notice something? There was a German flag floating in the air. Is this normal? Please educate me in the comment section below. Imagine if it was a Nigerian or a Zimbabwean flag. The social media will be burning now. On a more serious note, what shall we make of this? Are we saying 3 decades of democracy mean nothing to the ordinary black South African? The only solution is for the law to descend heavily on all racists and to eradicate and thwart all perpetrators of racial violence. In addition, land reform should be accelerated to support black businesses while strengthening local governance. But as it stands, we are all equal under the law, but some are more equal than others. I would like to know your thoughts about what you think about this topic. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have not yet subscribed to the Fraud News channel, please show your brother some love. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video. God bless you.